Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. I have combined all the videos in our animated hero section tutorial series into a single long video so that it's easy for you to follow. Now in this video, I'll show you how to design this animated hero section from scratch using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. And for the animation, we're going to use GSAP. And this is also responsive, so this is how it will look on smaller screens. And I will leave the link of the source code in the description of this video, and I will also show you how to add this design to your Blogger website. So let's get started. Alright, so here I have created this folder called Animated Hero Section, and I just opened it with VS Code. And I also have this folder called Images, and in that we have this hero image. So let's start by creating the necessary file. So let's create a new file and let's call it index.html. And let's create one more file called style.css. And let's create one more file called main.js. Alright, let's start with the index.html file. Now in VS Code, you can just type exclamation and press tab, and you'll have this basic HTML5 code. Now here in the title, I'll just type welcome. And let's link our CSS file over here. So I'll just type link and press tab. And here in the href, let's type style.css. And let's link the JavaScript file over here in the body. So I'll just type script:/src and press tab. And here let's type main.js. And now the next thing we will do is we will get the link of the fonts. So we need to get the inter font. And for the inter font, we need to have the bold version and this regular version. And we need to have the Poppins font for this heading. And we need to get the bold version of the font. So let's go to Google Fonts. Alright, so here I'm in fonts.google.com, and let's search for Inter. And let's select this font. And let's select the regular version. So regular 400, let's select this. And let's select the bold version. So I'll just select bold 700. And now let's select the Poppins font. So I'll just search for Poppins. And let's select this, and we need to get the bold version from this. So I'll just select bold 700. And now let's click on this icon called View Selected Families. And here we have the link of the font. Now you can copy this HTML code or this CSS code. I'll just copy this CSS code. So let's copy this and let's go back. And let's go to the CSS file, and I'll just paste it over here. So here we can see we are getting Inter 400 and 700 and Poppins 700. Right, now let's go to the HTML file and let's start creating the markup of our design. So the first thing we will do is we will create a nav element. Now if you take a look at the design, we can see that we have this max width for this content. So if I zoom out, we can see that the content of the website has a max width. So for that, let's go ahead and create another division, and let's give it a class of container. You can name this class anything you want. Now in this container class, we will add all the content. So first of all, let's create this logo. So I'll just create an anchor tag, and here let's give it a class of logo. And here I'll just type logo. You can also add an image if you want over here. And then after the logo, we need to have these menu items. So let's create a division with the class of menu items. And in this, we will have anchor tags, and you can add the links of the pages over here. I'll just type hash for now. And we have about, portfolio, services, and contact. So let's type about, and I'll just duplicate this. And then we have portfolio and services and contact. Now if you go back here, we also have this button. So for the button also, we will have an anchor tag, but we'll also give it a class. And let's give it a class of btn. And here let's type learn more. Right, now let's open this in the browser and let's see how it looks. So I have this extension called Live Server installed in VS Code. So once you have this extension installed, you can just right click over here in the HTML file and click on Open with Live Server. And now we can see that our content is displayed in the browser. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to create this hero section. So let's go outside the nav and let's create a section, and let's give it an ID of hero. Now in this, the first thing we will do is we'll create the img tag. And let's type images/hero image.jpg in the source. So now if you go back here, we can see we have the image displayed. And then let's go ahead and add the rest of the content. So we need to have this text content over here. So let's create a division with a class of text content. Now we need to have a max width for this text content. So let's add the same class that we added over here. So let's tab dot container. Now in this container, we need to have the left section and the right section. So let's create a division with the class of left. And in the left section, we need to have a heading. So let's create an h1 and let's copy this heading and let's paste it over here. And then let's create a right section. Now in this, we need to have a paragraph and let's give it a class of subheading. And let's copy this text and let's paste it over here. And then we need to have these two buttons. So let's create a division with the class of buttons. Now in this division, we will have anchor tags for the buttons, and let's give it a class of btn. And here let's tap explore. Now we need to create one more button. So let's duplicate this, and here we need to type learn more. Now this button has a different styling, so let's also give it a class of light, and we will style it differently in the CSS. So with that, we have completed writing the HTML of our design. And here we can see all the elements are being displayed over here. Now let's go to our CSS and let's start styling this. So the first thing we will do is we will target the body, and let's remove the existing padding and margin, and let's set the font family to Inter and sans serif, and let's set the color of all the text to 111822. Right now, let's select all the anchor tags. So let's type A and let's remove the underlines. So let's type text decoration and let's set it to none. And let's set the color of all the anchor tags to 111822. Right now, let's style the container class. So let's go back and let's type container. And we need to add a max width for this. So let's type max width and let's set the max width to 1100 pixels. And let's also bring it to the center. So let's type margin 0 auto, and let's also add a padding of 0.26 pixels. Right now, let's go ahead and set the position of the nav to fixed, so that even if you scroll down, the nav should be fixed at the top. So let's target the nav and let's set the position to fixed, and let's set the top position to 0. And now let's go ahead and add a background color. So let's tap background and let's set it to white. And now we can see that the width has reset. So for that, we need to type left 0 and right 0. And now we have the correct width. And let's also set a padding of 8 pixels top and bottom and 0 for left and right. And let's also set the Z index to, let's try 400 so that it is above all the other elements. Right now we want the logo to be on the left side and these menu items on the right side. So for that, we need to target the container division, which is this division with the class of container. So let's target the container inside the nav. So let's tap nav container and let's set the display to flex and justify content to space between, and let's also align items to the center. Right now let's style this logo. So for the logo, we have this anchor tag with the class of logo. So let's type logo and let's set the font weight to bold. And let's set the font size to 20 pixels and text transform uppercase. Right now we need to have some gap between these menu items. So they are inside this division with the class of menu items. So let's target that. I'll just tap nav, menu items, and let's set the display to flex and let's set a gap of 32 pixels and align items to the center. And now we can see we have this gap between the menu items. Right now let's go ahead and style this button. So for the button, we have this class of btn. So here I'll just tap .btn. Now for the button, we will set the background color to 111822. And let's set the color of the text to white. And let's add a padding of 8 pixels top and bottom and 20 pixels left and right. And let's also add a border radius of 30 pixels. And this is how the button looks. Now if you scroll down here also, we have the styling for the button because we have the same class over here. Now for the other button, we also have this class of light. So let's add the styles of this light button. So here I'll just type btn.light. And when we have the light class, we will set the background color to white. And we will add a border of 1 pixel solid 111822. And we'll set the color of the text to black. And now we can see we have this light button. Now for this dark button, we don't have the correct height because we also have this border for this light button. So we have 2 pixels of height added for this light button because we have the border on the top and the bottom of 1 pixels each. So let's go ahead and add a border over here as well. So let's tap border and let's set it to 1 pixel and let's set the same color. So let's tap 111822. And now we can see that both these buttons have the same height. Right, now let's target the hero section and let's set the height. So let's tap hash hero because we have an ID of hero for this section. And let's set the height of the hero section to 100 viewport height, which is 100% of the browser window. Right, now let's style this image. So let's tap hash hero img. We'll set the height of the image to 100 viewport height as well. And let's set the width to 100%. And let's set the object fit to cover so that the image has the correct aspect ratio. Let's set the position to absolute. And now we can see we have this image with the correct height. Let's also set the position of the image to top so that the top portion of the image is displayed. So let's tap object position top. Right, now we need to bring the text content to the top of the image. So let's tap hash hero and we have this division with the class of text content. So let's tap dot text content and let's set the z index to a higher value. So I'll just type 200 and it is still not being displayed. That's because we have this position over here in the img tag. So here also we need to set a position. So let's tap position and let's set it to relative. And now we can see that the text content is displayed over here. Now let's bring the text content to the bottom of the screen. So I'll just set the position to absolute. And let's set the bottom position to 0. And left to 0 and the right to 0. And now we can see our text content is at the bottom. Now we can see that we have some spacing at the bottom. That's because this is an anchor tag and the anchor tags are set as display of inline. So that's why this padding bottom is not being added correctly. So let's go back and let's go to the button and let's set the display to inline block. And now if you go back, we can see that everything looks alright. Now for the text content, we will have a white background color. So let's tap background, white. Now we want this heading to be on the left side and all the other content on the right side. So if you go back, here we can see we have this text content and in that we have this container division. And in the container division, we have the left and the right divisions. So let's target this container division, which is inside the hero section. So let's tap hero container and let's set the display to flex and align items to the center and justify content to space between. And let's add a gap of 30 pixels between the elements. And let's set the padding block, which is padding top and bottom to 24 pixels. Now we can see that the right section has a lot of width. So let's set the same width to both these divisions. So let's go ahead and type hero container div. So with this selector, it will select the immediate division after the container. So it will select this left division and this right division. It won't select this buttons division over here. So let's go back. And let's set the flex to 1. So both of them will have the same width. Right, now let's style this heading. So for the heading, we have an h1. So here we can see we have this h1. So let's type h1 and let's set the font size to 36 pixels. And let's set the line height to 1.4 and let's set the margin to 0. Now for the h1, we need to set the font family to Poppins. So let's tap font family, Poppins and sans serif. Right, now let's style this subheading. So here we can see we have this paragraph with a class of subheading. So I'll just type hero subheading and let's set the margin to 0 and let's set the line height to 1.8. So that's it with the styling of the subheading. Now let's add some margin top to these buttons. So we have this division with the class of buttons. So let's type buttons margin top and let's set the value to 30 pixels. Let's add some gap between this. So I'll just tap display of flex and gap of 16 pixels. I think we can decrease the letter spacing a little bit for this subheading. So here for the subheading, let's type letter spacing, and let's set it to a negative value. So let's type 0.4 pixels, or let's try 0.5. And I think that looks alright. So with that, we have completed designing this hero section for the desktop version. Now for the responsive version, we have this menu icon displayed over here. And when we click on this menu icon, we have these menus displayed. And this is for the mobile version. So first of all, let's create the markup of this menu. So let's go to the HTML file. And here, let's go inside the container division. And let's create a division with the class of mobile menu or mobile menu items. And in this we will copy and paste these same menus, and let's paste it over here. Right, now let's go back to our design, and now let's go ahead and hide this menu that we have in the desktop version. So let's go to the style or CSS file, and let's create a media query. So let's tap at media, and let's tap max width, and let's set it to 800 pixels. So whenever the width of the screen is less than 800 pixels, all the CSS inside this block will be added to our design. So here let's add the selector of the menu items of the desktop version. So here we can see we have this menu items division inside the nav. So let's tap nav menu items, and let's set the display to none. And now we can see that the desktop menu items have disappeared. And here we have this mobile menu items displayed. So let's go ahead and style that. So here let's type mobile menu items, and let's set the position to absolute, and let's set the display to flex, and the flex direction to column, and let's add a background color of white, and let's set the top value to 70 pixels, and let's set the right value to, let's try 30 pixels. Right, now let's add a gap of 16 pixels between the elements, and let's set a padding of 16 pixels, and let's tap align items to the center. Alright, so that's it with the design of our mobile menu items. Now let's go ahead and create this menu icon over here. So let's go to heroicons.com. So here I'm in heroicons.com, and let's search for menu, and let's copy this SVG from here, and let's go to the HTML file. And here after this menu items division, let's create a division with the class of menu icon, and let's paste the SVG over here, and let's go to the style or CSS file, and let's go ahead and add some styles to that. So here let's tap nav menu icon, and in this we have the SVG. So let's tap SVG, and let's set the width of the SVG to 30 pixels, and let's also add some padding to the menu icon. So let's tap padding, and let's set the padding to 8 pixels, and let's also set the cursor to pointer, and I think we can bring the padding down a little bit. So let's set the padding to 4 pixels, and I think that looks alright. Now this icon is not exactly in the center, so for that we need to tap display of flex, and now it is exactly in the center. Now we don't want to display this mobile menu items and this menu icon in the desktop version. So for that, let's go ahead and create a comment. I'll just type hidden items, and here let's type menu icon or nav menu icon and mobile menu items, and let's set the display to none. And here in the mobile version, let's type nav menu icon, and let's set the display to block, and let's target the mobile menu items, and let's set the display to flex. Now for this text content, we want this heading to be on the top and this paragraph to be at the bottom. So for that, let's go ahead and take a look at the HTML. So here we can see we have this hero section, and in that we have the container, and in the container we have the left and the right divisions. So if we take a look at the CSS, here for the container we have set the display to flex. Now we need to set the flex direction to column when we are on smaller screens. So here let's type hero container, and let's set the flex direction to column, and let's add a gap of 16 pixels between the elements. Right, now let's decrease the font size of this heading on smaller screens. So let's tap hero, and we have an H1, and let's set the font size to 30 pixels. Now we don't want this mobile menu items to be displayed by default. So here by default, I'll just set the opacity to 0 and pointer events to none. And here let's add a class called active. So when we have this active class, we will set the opacity back to 1 and pointer events to auto. Right now let's open the desktop version and let's see whether we have any problems, and everything looks alright. So now let's add the functionality of displaying the mobile menu items when we click on this menu icon. So for that we will go to the JavaScript file, and let's go ahead and target this menu icon and also the mobile menu items. So here we can see we have this division with the class of mobile menu items and also this division with the class of menu icon. So let's type const menu icon equals document.querySelector, and let's type nav menu icon, and let's target the mobile menu items. So let's type const mobile menu items equals document.querySelector nav mobile menu items. And now let's add an event listener to this menu icon. So let's type menu icon dot add event listener, and let's listen for the click event. And when we click on the menu icon, we want to add and remove the active class to the mobile menu items because we have added the styles over here. So let's type mobile menu items dot class list dot toggle, and let's type active over here. And now if we click on this menu icon, we have the menu items displayed, and if I click on it once again, it disappears. So it is working alright. So with that, we have made our hero section responsive. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to get the CDN of GSAP. So just search for CDN.js GSAP and click on this first link over here. So this is the link of the CDN of GSAP. So you can just click on copy script tag for this GSAP min.js. So let's click on copy script tag, and let's go back to our source code. And here in the HTML, I'll just scroll down, and just before this script tag, I'll just paste the CDN code. So here we have the GSAP min.js library, and then we have this script tag where we are linking the main.js file. So now let's go ahead and add the animation using GSAP. So let's go to the main.js file, and here the first thing we need to do is we need to create a timeline. So let's type const and let's call it TL equals, and here you need to type GSAP dot timeline. Now after this timeline is created, you can just go ahead and type TL, which is the name of the timeline. Then you have two options, from or to. So I'll just type from. Now what this will do is it will go from the state that we provide over here to the current state that we have in our website. So for example, this logo is right here. Now if I just type from, and if I add an opacity of 0, then it will go from 0 to this opacity of 1. Now if we add 2 instead of from, then it will go from the current state to the state that we provide over here. So for example, if we set the 2 to opacity of 0, then it will go from this opacity of 1 to the opacity of 0. So let's go ahead and write the code, and you will understand it better. Now here the first thing we need to do is we need to provide the selector. So the first thing we will select is this background image. So here we can see if we reload this page, the background image is first displayed over here. So let's go back, and if you go to the HTML file, here we can see inside the hero section, we have this img tag. So it is immediately inside this hero section. So we can just go ahead and type #hero, and in that we have the image. So I'll just type greater than img. So it will target the immediate image tag, and it will not target the images inside any of the other divisions. So let's go ahead and add an object over here for all the animations. Now here we'll just set the opacity to 0. So it will start from opacity 0 and go to this state which has the opacity of 1. So let's save this and let's go back and let's reload this page. And now we can see that the image starts from opacity of 0 and it goes to this state. Right now let's go ahead and add the animation for this nav. So if you go back, Here we can see that the nav comes in from the top. So let's go back, and here we can go ahead and keep adding new animations. So here let's type dot from, and let's select the nav. So we have the nav element, and let's add the animations. So here in this object, let's type y, which is the y-axis. So let's type -100, and we can also add easing. So let's type ease, and let's set the easing to expo.out. Now you have different options in GSAP, so I'll just show you that. So you can just Google for GSAP easing, and just go over here to this link, and here we have different easing options displayed over here. So we have power 1 out, and we have these 3 options in here, and all these options over here. You can also create your custom easing. So you can just click on custom ease and customize the ease, and it will give you the code for that. So right now we are using this easing called expo.out. So this one right here. So this is how the easing will look. So let's go back. Let's also set a duration. So let's type duration, and let's set the duration to 1.7, and let's save this. And here we can see after this image animation, we have the nav being animated. Now we want to have this nav animated a little earlier. So before the animation of the image finishes, we want this nav to appear. So here we can see the nav appears a little earlier. So for that, you can go back, and you can add an option over here after this object. So let's add a comma, and here you can just type -, and you can add a value over here. So I'll just type 0.6. Now it will run the animation 0.6 seconds earlier than default. So let's save this, and let's go back, and now let's reload this page, and now we can see that the animation is working correctly. Alright, now let's go ahead and animate this logo. So for the logo, we have the animation where it fades in. So let's go back, and here let's add a from. So let's type dot from, and let's target the logo. So let's type nav, and if you go back to the HTML file, here we can see for the logo we have this anchor tag with a class of logo. So let's type dot logo, and now let's add the animation. So let's create an object, and let's set the opacity to 0, and let's also set the duration to 1, and let's also add a transition delay. So let's type -=1. So we are adding a negative transition delay. So let's save this, and let's reload this page, and now we can see that the animation of the logo is also working. Now let's add the animation for these menu items. So if we go back, here we can see that all these menu items are displayed one after the other. So for that, let's go back, and here let's type dot from, and here let's type nav. And if you go back to the HTML file, here we can see that we have this division with a class of menu items, and in that we have the anchor tag for all these menu items. So let's type dot menu items a, and let's create an object. Now for this, we need to set the opacity to 0, and we need to set the scale to 0.8. So it will start a little smaller and it will grow, and then we'll set the duration to 1.5, and let's also set the easing to elastic.out 1.5. So you can experiment with these numbers, and now let's go ahead and add a transition delay. So let's type -=1. Now let's go back, and here we can see we have the animation for all these menu items. Now we want all these menu items to be displayed one after the other. So for that, you can use this option called stagger. So let's type stagger, and let's set the value to 0.3, and now let's save this, and now we can see that all these menu items are displayed one after the other. So it is working all right. Right, now let's go ahead and animate the rest of the elements. So let's animate this text content area. Now if you go back over here, we can see that this text content area comes in from the bottom. Now if we go to the mobile version, here also it comes in from the bottom, but here it has a lot of height and here it doesn't have a lot of height. So we don't know exactly what position we need to start this text content area from. So for that, let's go back and let's go to the CSS file and let's go to the text content division. So here we can see we have this division with the class of text content. So let's find that over here. So here we have the text content. Now here we will set the position of the text content to below the screen. So we can just type transform, translate y, and let's set the value to 100%. So it will go below the screen. Now let's go back and let's go to the main.js file. And here let's target the text content. So I'll just type dot. And here we will use 2 because we want to start from the bottom and we need to go to a different state. So let's type hero text content and let's create an object and let's type y 0. And let's set the easing to power4.out and let's set the duration to 1.8 and let's also add a transition delay. So let's type minus equals 1.4 and now let's go back and here we can see we have the animation for the text content. Right now let's go ahead and add the animation for this heading. So for the heading we have an h1. So we can see we have this h1 over here. So let's type dot from hero h1 and here let's create the object and let's type opacity and let's set it to 0 and let's set the scale to 0.9. So it will start from a scale of 0.9. Let's set the easing to elastic dot out and here let's type 1.2 and 0.4 and let's set the duration to 1.5 and let's also add the transition delay. So let's type minus equals 1.3 and now if you go back, here we can see we have the animation for the heading. Now let's animate this subheading. So if we go back to the HTML file, here we can see we have this paragraph with a class of subheading. So let's type dot from hero subheading and here let's type opacity and let's start from 0 and let's set the X value. So if you go back, here we can see that the subheading comes in from the right side. So for that we are setting the x-axis and let's set it to 40 and let's set the easing to elastic dot out 1 and 4 and let's set the duration to 1.5 and here let's add a transition delay and let's set it to minus equals 1.3 and let's also add the animation for the buttons. So let's type dot from and let's type hash hero and for the buttons we have this division with the class of buttons and in that we have this class of btn. So let's type buttons btn and let's start with an opacity of 0 with a scale of 0.8 and duration of 1.5. Let's set the easing to elastic dot out 1 and 0.5 and here we need to set it to 0.4 and then let's go ahead and set a stagger because we have multiple buttons and we want the buttons to be displayed one after the other. So let's set the stagger value to 0.2 and let's also add a delay. So let's add a negative delay of 1.3 and let's save this and let's go back to our website and let's reload this page and we can see all the animations are working all right. Right now let's go ahead and open the mobile version and let's reload this page. And here we can see the animation is not working correctly because we don't have all these menu items inside the mobile version. So it will wait for the animation of the menu items to work and after that it will display the other animations. And we also don't have the animation for this menu icon. So we need to create a different timeline for the mobile version. So for that, let's go ahead and change this timeline into a desktop timeline. So I'll just change the name to TL desktop, and here also I'll just tap TL desktop. And now we need to create another timeline for the mobile version. But before that, we need to check whether we are on the mobile device. So for that, you need to create a match media. So I'll just tap let, and I'll just call it for match media, and let's tap equals GSAP dot match media. So once you create this match media, you can go ahead and inspect the width of the browser. So here let's type dot add, and here we need to add the max width or the min width. So let's type min width, and let's set it to 801 pixels. So if you go back to the style.css file, here we can see we have created this media query of max width of 800 pixels. Now this is for the mobile version. Now for the desktop version, it will start from a min width of 801 pixels. So that's why we have set min width of 801 pixels over here. And the next argument over here is an arrow function. And in this, we need to add this timeline. So I'll just go ahead and copy all this code from here. So I'll just cut it from here, and let's paste it inside this function. So now this is for the desktop version. Right now, let's go back to our website, and let's go to the desktop version. And the animation is not working over here. So let's go back, and we need to add this inside parentheses. So let's add this inside parentheses. And now let's go back. And here we can see we have the animation for the desktop version. But if you open the mobile version, here we don't have the animation because we have set this min width of 801 pixels over here. So now let's create the animation for the mobile version. Here I'll just type dot add, and for the mobile version we need to type max width of 800 pixels, and let's create an arrow function, and here we'll create the timeline for the mobile version. So I'll just copy all of this from here, and the code of the mobile version is almost the same. So let's copy this code and let's paste it over here. And let's change the name of the timeline to TL mobile. I'll just do that over here as well. Now for the mobile version, we have this image animation over here. So I'll just keep it as it is. And then we have the nav animation. So I'll just keep it as it is as well. And then we have the animation for the logo, and this will also be the same. Let's scroll down, and then we have the animation for the menu items. Now for the mobile version, we don't have the menu items. So let's go ahead and remove this from here. And we need to add the animation for this menu icon. So let's go ahead and type dot from, and let's tap nav. And for the menu icon, we have this division with the class of menu icon. So let's type dot menu icon, and here let's go ahead and create the properties for the animation. So I'll just tap X of 30. So if you go back to the original design, here we can see that this menu icon comes in from the right. So let's go back, and here let's also set the opacity to 0 by default, and I will also set the duration to 1, and let's go ahead and add a delay. So let's add a negative delay of 1, and then we have the animation for the text content, and then we have the animation for the H1. So everything will be as it is. And then we have the animation for the subheading, and then we have the animation for the buttons. So everything else will be the same. So let's save this, and let's go back to our website, and let's reload this page. And here we can see all the animation is working all right. And if you go to the desktop version, here also the animations are working all right. So that's basically how you can add GSAP animations to your desktop and your mobile versions. Right, here I have logged into my Blogger dashboard, and if I take a look at the blog right now, this is how the website looks right now. So I'm using this theme which comes by default with Blogger, and it is called Contempolite. So now let's go ahead and add this hero section to this Blogger website. So the first thing we need to do is we need to see how this hero section is structured over here right now. So this is the Blogger website, and if I right click over here and go to inspect, here if you take a look at the main container division, here we can see we have this header, and in the header we have all this content. So we need to remove this header from here and we need to add our own hero section in place of this header. So let's go back to our theme code and let's click on this arrow and let's click on edit HTML. And let's search for the header tag. So you can just press Command F, or if you're using Windows, you can just press Ctrl F and type >header and press enter. And here we can see this is the header. So you can go ahead and fold this by clicking on this arrow, and this is the header tag. And now you can go ahead and delete this code. But before that, make sure to keep a copy of this as a backup. So just copy this and paste it somewhere. And I'll just go ahead and delete this header. And we need to add this hero section at the top. So let's go to the theme code and let's scroll up. And this is where the page division starts. So if we right click over here and go to inspect. So if we scroll up here, we can see we have the page division. Now we need to have this hero section before the page division. So here, before this division with the class of page, let's go ahead and type some dummy text. So I'll just type testing. And let's click on save. And let's see whether we are in the correct position. So let's go back and let's reload this page. And now we can see it says testing. So the code is being displayed in the correct position. Now let's go ahead and replace this code with the HTML of our design. So let's go back to our source code. And I will leave the link of the source code in the description of this video. Now if you go to the HTML file, here we can see this is the code for our hero section. Now here we can see we have this nav and we are adding some styles to the nav over here in the CSS. Now what we need to do is we need to add an ID over here for the nav, because we may have a nav element inside the theme also. So we don't want it to clash with the CSS of our design. So let's go ahead and add an ID over here and let's set the ID to custom nav. And then we have this division with the class of container, and we may have this container class in the theme as well. So let's go ahead and change this to something else. So I'll just change the container to my container. Now before that, make sure that you are changing all the instances of containers. So I'll just select this container and I'll just press Command D, or if you're using Windows, you can just press Ctrl D and it will select all the instances of container. Now you can go ahead and go to the start by pressing the left arrow, and you can just type my-container. And now if you scroll down here also, we will have the my-container class. So in this way, you can easily go ahead and change all these classes. Right now, let's go ahead and save this and let's go back to the style.css file. And now here, instead of all the container divisions, we need to change this to my-container. So let's press Command D to select all these instances, and let's go to the starting and let's type my container. And now let's select all the nav. So let's select all the nav and let's press Command D to select all the instances. For the nav, we have an ID of custom nav. So let's type #custom nav. And now we need to make the changes in the JavaScript as well. So let's go to the JavaScript file and let's see whether we have the elements. So we have the nav, so let's select all the nav and let's change this to nav #custom nav. Right now, let's go back to our website and let's see whether everything is working all right. And everything is working all right. Let's take a look at the mobile version. And it is also working fine. Let's go ahead and add this code to our Blogger theme code. So let's go back to our source code and let's go to the HTML file. Let's copy all this HTML from here till the end of the section. And let's paste it over here. Now here we have this image. Now instead of this image, we need to add the link of our image. So right now it is set to images/the image name. But in the Blogger website, we don't have this images folder. So we need to store the images somewhere and get the link and paste it over here. So I'll just go to the Blogger dashboard and let's go to pages and let's create a new page for the images. So I already have this page called images. So I'll just go over here and I'll just click on this insert image button and let's click on upload from computer. And let's click on choose files. And here we have this image called hero image. So let's select the image and let's click on open. And let's select the image and let's click on select. And here I'll just select original size and let's click on OK. And here we have this link of the image. If you don't see this, you can just go to the HTML view. So let's copy this href link from here. And let's go back. And let's go over here and let's paste the link over here. And now let's go ahead and copy the CSS over here. So let's scroll up. And here we have the CSS of the theme code. So let's go ahead and add a comment over here. And let's type custom hero section. And let's go back. And let's go to the CSS file. And let's go ahead and copy all the CSS from here. So first of all, let's copy this import. And I'll just paste it at the beginning of the CSS. So I'll just paste it over here. And let's scroll down. And let's go back. And now here we can see we have some styles added to the body. Now we don't want to add this body style to the Blogger theme code because it will change the look of the complete page. So let's go back and let's copy these two styles from here. And let's paste it inside the hero section, which is this section with an ID of hero, and also this custom nav. So let's type nav, custom nav, and hero. And let's paste the code over here. And now here we have this anchor tag. Now this will select all the anchor tags in the website. So what we will do is here also we'll just type nav hash custom nav a. Here we have the h1. So here also we need to change this to a specific h1. So we need to change it to hero h1. So here we can see we have this section with an ID of hero, and in that we have the h1. So let's type hero h1. Right now let's go ahead and copy all this CSS from here. So I'll just copy from this line of code till the end. And let's paste it over here. And now let's paste the JavaScript code. So let's go to the end of our theme code. And here I'll just create a script tag. And here I'll just paste the code. So let's go back and I'll just copy all this JavaScript from here. And let's paste it over here. And we also need to paste the link of the GSAP library. So let's go back to the index.html file. And let's copy this script tag from here. And let's paste it over here. Right now let's go ahead and save this and let's see how it looks. So let's go to the Blogger homepage and let's reload this page. And here we can see all the animation and everything is working alright. Let's take a look at the mobile version. And it is also working alright. Now we have some problems in the button. So let's fix that. Now for the button, we don't have the correct color. So let's go back. Let's go to the CSS. And here we have the CSS of the button. So here let's type nav, custom nav, button. So it will select the button with this selector. And here we need to add the selector of the button. So let's type nav hash custom nav button. And let's set the color of the button to white. And let's save this. And let's go back to the website and let's reload this page. And now we can see we have the correct colors for the button. Now if I click on this button, now we can see that the button has a different color once it is clicked. So let's go ahead and make the color of the clicked button to the same white color. So let's go back. And for that you need to type hero because it is inside the hero section, and button colon visited. And here let's type color of white. And now if we save this and if I go back to our website and if I reload this page, here we can see for this light button we have the white color as well. So let's go back, and for the light button we have added this class of light. So let's go back and here let's type hero button.light visited, and here let's type color of black, or this color right here. So I just paste it over here, and let's go ahead and save this, and let's go back to our website, and let's reload this page. And now we can see everything is looking alright. Now if you scroll down, we have all the other content of the website. Now if you go to one of these posts, here also we have the hero section and the animation working. Now we want the hero section to be displayed only on the home page. So for that, let's go back and let's go to the HTML code. And this is the HTML code. So here I'll just add this hero section inside an if condition. So here let's type less than b : if cond for condition, and here let's type data : viv dot is homepage, and let's scroll down, and once the section ends, let's end the if condition. So let's type less than / b : if, and now let's save this, and let's go back to our website, and let's reload this page. And now we can see when we are on other pages, we don't have the hero section displayed. But if you go to the home page, now we can see we have the hero section and the animation being displayed. Let's open one of these posts. Now here we don't have the hero section displayed. Now let's go ahead and add some gap at the top of this content, because we have this nav bar displayed on top of this content over here. So let's go back. First of all, let's take a look at the selector. So let's right click over here and go to inspect. And let's take a look at this container division of the post. So I think this is the container division. So here we can see this is the selector. So let's go ahead and copy this selector from here, and let's add some padding top to it. So let's go to the CSS, and here let's paste the selector, and let's add a padding top of 50 pixels, and let's save this. And let's go back to our website, and let's reload this page. And now we can see we have this gap at the top of this content. Let's also add the link of the home page over here to this logo. So let's go back to the HTML, and here in the HTML you can add the links of your pages. So here you can add the link of the about page, the portfolio page, and all these pages over here. I'll just add the link of the home page. So here I'll just copy this link from here, and let's paste it over here. Right, now we need to fix one more thing, which is when we are on any other page other than the home page, we don't want the animation to happen for this nav bar. So for that, let's go back and let's go to the script that we added for the animation. So here we can see all of this is the GSAP animation code. So it starts from here. So let's go ahead and add an if condition over here, and let's check whether we are on the home page. So let's type if window.location.pathname equals / and let's add all of this inside this curly braces. I'll just end it over here, and now let's go ahead and save this, and let's go back to our website, and let's reload this page. And now we can see we don't have any animation for this nav. Let's go to the home page, and here we have the animation. So everything is working alright. Let's open one of these posts once again, and here we don't have any animations. Alright, so that's basically how you can add this custom animated hero section to your Blogger website. Now I will leave the link of the source code in the description of this video. So if you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below, and if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.